Dooley Noted Podcast. I appreciate everybody for clicking on. We got a good show for you today. Really good show for you today. Reidel Anthony is going to join us at the top of the hour, at some point in the top of the hour, and Rece Davis, who could not make it Friday, but we got him today. So we're going to have a great show, and we've got a lot planned as well. Another Dooley Noted Podcast. We'll try to speak English today. Another Dooley Noted Podcast presented by my best friend, Joe Calorio at Titan MRI, and we appreciate him. We're closing in on some other sponsorships because, look, let's face it, guys, we're getting almost to football season, and I can make you some great deals as we get into football season to be on this podcast. It's doing really nice numbers. I can give you the numbers and everything like that. We've got people that have been great to be on this show, whether it's Kyle, whether it's Hand Law. We love those guys at Hand Law. Of course, Titan MRI, Adams Ribco. They'll stay with us. This, that, and the other, which we now do on Mondays with obviously Ballyhoo's and Darshakow Insurance. I went blank there for a second. And then, of course, Ironwood Golf Course. So we got a lot of really good sponsors. We need to get just a couple more to keep this thing going and make it beneficial for all of us. So, it's not about me. It's about making this worthwhile for everybody that works here. You can watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Also, listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Overcast, Podbean, or any of the other 39 platforms. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. I had somebody actually send me an email or a text about it wasn't downloaded on Google Podcast, Evan, so you can check on that this week. Because people like to get into our Leonardo's and Millhopper Quick Picks contest. We got a simple one again for you this week. And I'm just thinking because I think that maybe Friday we pull a name. We go ahead and pull a name and give away something. We try to keep it every 3 weeks or so that we do something, and so that you keep going, you keep wanting to be part of it. And we got a lot of people qualified, although not that many people qualified on the last one because, in fact, nobody, because the winner of the U.S. Open. Why do I keep blanking out today? What do you think the problem is? The winner of the U.S. Open, John Rahm, was 6 under. Nobody has 6 under. So I think we all thought especially after the first day, it'd be around 8, 9, 10. But of course, it's not just the course. Now I got an itchy nose. It's not just the course. It is the pressure of the Open, and it's pressure like you never feel for anything else. It is the pressure of a major championship. Not like I've been in one, okay? But I have been in some tournaments, and I have been even in some minor tournaments where all that was on the line was $40, where you play differently when it comes down to that. So I understand that. All right, the big story today, and again, by the way, today on the show, Reidel Anthony and Rece Davis are going to join us. Today, the big story that just broke a little while ago was that the Supreme Court voted 9-0 against the NCAA. And I'm not 100. I've been reading up on what happened. First of all, the Supreme Court never votes a 9-0 on anything. Okay, that'd be like the Kardashians voting 9-0 on something. I mean, they just don't vote 9-0. But they basically voted 9-0, and what they basically said was, NCAA, you've been operating like a monopoly. It's ridiculous. You're not above the law. You should be in jail, all of you. Every member of the NCAA, which would be a lot of school presidents, and all this crap is off. Now, all it really means so far that I can tell is that players are no longer amateurs in terms of what you can be offered. And so far, what it sounds like is they can offer them a free iPod to do their work. It sounds like they're actually coming down with things that are going to help the students with their academics, to help the students get through life. This is all stuff that the NCAA should have done 100 years ago. And now you've got Mark Emmert saying, hey, if you guys don't, pass these NILs, because they're going to pass, and July 1st is when a lot of them are going to start. I think it's 10 states they're going to start, and which makes it chaos, which is not what I want to see. I do believe in the NIL, but I don't believe it in terms of just having total chaos. So he's basically saying, if you don't pass it, and if you guys don't get this resolved, I'm going to step in here. Well, you could have stepped in 5 years ago. Ed O'Banion's case was 12 years ago. You did nothing about it. You've done nothing and nothing and nothing and nothing. And now the Supreme Court has basically said, you're not doing things the right way. And it's what a mess college sports is right now. And it's a shame. I mean, I love college sports. I live for college sports. I know that I do love the NFL. I love just what we saw over the weekend, where you had an opportunity to watch the NBA playoffs and pro golf, a major. It was great. It was fun. I loved it. It was exciting. I love that too. But college sports is what makes my life great. It's kind of sad, but it does. When I'm sitting there, I cannot wait until I'm sitting there on my recliner on the first Saturday of college football season and watching like 4 games at the same time. Yeah, but there was a way to do this that they just couldn't get their arms around. They could not figure it out. And what if we just don't do anything? That's basically what the NCAA and Mark Emmert said. And it's so hard to define what the NCAA is, okay? Because the NCAA is all the presidents of all the schools, 90% of which could not care less about the inner workings of the NCAA as a group. But that's where you kind of count on a strong leader and his underlings to straighten these things out and say, hey, we're going to work this out for you. So they didn't work things out. And what do you have now? You've got a situation where you have all the presidents giving this guy an extension on his contract. You did so piss poor that we are going to give you an extension on your contract, and it's still going to suck. Everything's going to suck. And now we may be coming down. And it may crash down. It may totally crash down on top of his head and a lot of heads. Mark Emmert, disgusting what they've gotten away with murder, and now all of a sudden they're being arraigned, they're being walked off in cuffs and ankle handcuffs and everything, and eventually we'll see what it all happens, but we still don't know. And that is the one thing to me that is so weird about this year. For example, when we go to the SEC Media Days. Now, I won't be going. Robbie and I won't be going. But when we do go, or when they go, the other people who do go, and we're still toying with going. How much talk is going to be about, hey, do you think you can beat Alabama this year, Texas A&M? And how much is going to be about NIL, impending playoffs? I would bet it's going to be 80-20 towards the future, 20 being the part about this coming season. And that's a shame. Because they pushed everything back and took forever and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, all right, we will get to our guests today. Reidel Anthony will be joining us in just a minute. He hasn't joined us yet, but we'll get him on. I did talk to him today. And I know Rece Davis is going to join us at the bottom of the hour as well. I tell you what we'll do, Evan, let's go ahead and do 3 things early today, and they deserve to be early because they do such a great job of being a sponsor, and we do appreciate it. 3 things presented by Hand Law. Three Things is presented by Hand Law, a Florida firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website at www.handlaw.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. So thanks so much to Hand Law. And here are the three things I've been thinking about a lot this week. And one of them is I have been rooting so hard for the Hawks, and I've been rooting so hard for the Bucks. Now I'm out of villains. I don't know what to do about the NBA playoffs the rest of the way. The Hawks won last night. The Bucks won the other night. I was so happy. I was so into it. The basketball is terrible. I'm sorry. It's just not good basketball. It's all one-on-one. And, everybody throws all their plays out once you get to playoff basketball. It's who's got the better players. And, certainly some of the basketball I've seen, Ben Simmons. Hey, here's the funny thing. The other day, I was talking to somebody. I said, sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. I was really wrong about two guys in the NBA. One of them was Trae Young, and the other was Ben Simmons. And then I get to the playoffs, and Trae Young's even better than I thought. Ben Simmons is worse than I thought. And all of a sudden, I go flashback to his 1 year at LSU when the guy was incredibly talented, but he only played as hard as he wanted to. He only tried to do whatever he needed to do to get through the day. He didn't care about his teammates at all. And now he gets into the playoffs, Game 7. What does he do? You look at the field goals he's made in fourth quarters of Game 7s. It says a lot about him. It also says he can't shoot free throws. Now, I would think that the 76ers are going to move off him, but whoever gets him needs to go, hey, you're not leaving this gym any day for the next 6 months until you make 100 free throws. We told that story about how, Lee Humphrey walked in to the gym and Tay DePay was there, and he said, let's see who can make the most out of 100 threes. And Humphrey hit 93 and lost. And that's how because Teddy, that's all he did. He shot threes. He shot. And that's just not wanting it enough. Some guys don't want it. They just don't. And Ben Simmons appears to be that kind of guy. He was that kind of guy in college. Remember, they were going to play. And again, I think that the worst thing he could have done was gone to LSU. The LSU hired his dad to be their coach. And so he knew he didn't have to work that hard. He was a great player, 6'10", point forward, would have these great plays. But they went to the NIT. And then they didn't go to the NIT because he didn't want to play. I'm not playing the NIT. So they just cancel it. We're not playing it. So I was wrong about Ben Simmons twice, I think, if that's possible. Number 2, Florida seems to be doing really well in recruiting. I know they got a couple of big commitments. I know there's a lot of guys out there that are, making double visits to Florida. And I say this all the time, ABC of recruiting, always be closing. The winner gets a brand new car, the loser gets steaks, knives. If you finish third, you get fired. I mean, it's Glengarry Glen Ross. You've got to always be closing. And if you're not closing, you're not going to get the guys. They seem to be in better shape than they usually are at this time of year. And again, this is still a pandemic year because we just started, June 1st, with players being able to come on campus and coaches being able to recruit in person. So, it's kind of like a rush to get these guys. And I know they've been doing a lot of different dinners. I know at Ballyhoo Grill, which is one of our sponsors, they've done some. I know at Spurs they've done some. I was in there the other day when they were doing some. But everything I'm reading and everything I'm hearing, it feels like Florida's recruiting has taken a little bit of a jump. And I do believe, Robbie and I talked about it, that building over there, even though it's just a frame, That's all it is. It's a frame of a huge building. I think it makes a difference that at least that's up. Until that goes up, everybody goes, oh yeah, we cleared some dirt off over here. What is that? I don't know what that's going to mean. What does that mean? You can show me an artist rendition. I have no idea I know what the artist rendition looked like when they were building the indoor practice facility, and it looks nothing like it. It's way better. But I know what it's going to be. So keep it up, Dan Mullen. Keep going, because you need to have a big recruiting year, and then I would think next year's could really be special if they can keep that going. Okay? All right, and then finally on 3 things presented by Hand Law, one of the great interviews I've seen in a long time was John Rahm's interview after winning the U.S. Open. It was pretty impressive. Talking about his family, talking about his new son, talking about how he wants to be a role model for him, and I thought it was great. I really did, and it made me really like John Rahm even more. Okay. All right, right now we're not gonna take a break, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna come back and talk to one of my favorite guys in the world, Reidel Anthony. Reidel, how are you doing? What, you went sideways.
I don't know. I was trying to log in for the last 10 minutes after we spoke earlier, and my internet got all messed up. Actually, my line got cut last night. I thought they fixed it, but obviously not.
Now, was that from the storm?
No, it was actually before the storm. I don't know what happened. I guess, people cutting the grass in your neighborhood, cutting too low, and it was working fine. We spoke earlier, then at 1:55, I go to trying to log on, and I'm not getting anything, so I just had to go to the cell phone.
Well, I appreciate you making the effort, Reidel. And
thanks for having me.
Hey, it's great to talk to you. And I was talking to Coach Spurrier the other day, and he was talking about your Alabama game in '96, and I said, that's the first time I ever saw a guy climb the air to catch a pass. Like, you went up, and then you weren't up high enough, and you kept going. I go, you can't do that. How do you do that? And I've always been encouraging other guys to be able to do that.
Yeah. It's something you work on, but you really don't know you work on. It's just attacking the ball all the time. And that's when you are, that's why I encourage kids to play different sports. Because it's, when it all said and done, they all carry over to make you a better athlete. And if you're a better athlete, that'll make you a better player all around. Because, nowadays they're not just signing, besides just a quarterback position, they're just not signing position players. They're finding guys that could fit the system. But that just comes from playing a lot of years of basketball. I was going from the football field to the blacktop in South Bay, playing a late night pickup game. So just a lot of jumping, muscle memory, and it paid off.
And chasing those rabbits out in those cane fields too, right?
And I'm gonna be honest, Pat, it didn't last long with me. I ain't gonna say I was just a very smart kid, but I looked at the chance of me running all day, and instead of picking up something and hitting them with it. And I don't think I could get a charge for that, because wow, animal, right?
I love that you're wearing a Quez Ika Reidel hat. Now, where did you get that?
I got this from At Dome Hats. They're based out of Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. They sent me a box of hats a few months ago, and in the pack was this one here. I have my Danny, Shane, and another one. My favorite, I wear it golfing all the time. I think it's upstairs, but it's the hat, but it has just the 2 bits. His tie. He has his tie on it right here.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's gray. It was a nice hat.
I've been pushing Coach Spurrier at the restaurant that he's getting ready to open to have the Ike and Reidel catch of the day, and we'll see if that works out.
That's a good one there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard, a few stories about the restaurant, and I heard in the restrooms he has a bunch of plays, and it looks like him, and it seems like it's not going to be a dull moment where you're getting the catch of the day or you're trying to release some of the fluid that, comes with the adult beverages.
Well, let me ask you this. I saw on ESPN the other day, they listed the top 50 receivers of the last 50 years. And let's face it, if you played 50 years prior, nobody really, you weren't one of the top 50 receivers anyway. They had you at number 15, which I thought was appropriate, considering that was your number. What did you think of that?
Amazing. Nothing I have thought about since I left Florida or even attended Florida. I didn't even think about those type of accolades. I just played the game and let it do what it do. But when some of the players I've trained, they sent me, the Instagram post or whatever. And for years, I always talked noise to them. Just settle noise, nothing much, but let's settle noise. Then for them to see that and for them to, comment all the things they do with the post, that's what I took more pride in, and them seeing, not me having to stand in front of them and have to brag or, convince them I was the man. Like I told them, greatness is spoken by others of you. You talk about yourself, I think you were pretty good.
Well, everybody knows how good you were that lives around here. There's no question about that. And that followed that Florida team right up there through 96. It was an unbelievable run. And, what you were able to do and all the great things you were able to do. And then went on to do in the NFL. That threesome. And look, I know when Doring was there, and Doring will get mad if I don't go Doring, Reidel, Ike, but to me, Ike, Reidel, and Quez was the all-time threesome in Florida.
I thank you. Like I said, I'm not gonna comment on us three guys. I let other people do it because, like you say, Doring's not gonna walk up behind me somewhere, at a golf tournament, 11:30 at night, and hit me in the back of the head. So I'm gonna let him do you like that, Pat. But
okay.
The one thing I can say about us three, we all came in the same year, all from different states. Yeah. Well, those two, Quez played a little quarterback. I played running back, and I pretty much played, everything, Blade Central, but mainly receiver. And to see us, come together like that, and we all hit it off from day one, and we just gelled and fed off each other. Then to what people didn't see, the competitive nature we all had away from the field, especially basketball, which Quez like all state, they was real good. My school sucked. Yeah. And Ike them sucked to high school, but Quez them was good. So, and Quez are actually very good. And then to take that to, we started our own college football season, in a Madden season. We had NBA season. So we spent so much time together, us three plus, our class. And that's how we formed, just such this family feeling. But I ain't gonna lie, Pat, with all the video games, I wasn't that interested in. Nah. So I created my own league. They got the G League and NBA. I created the G League and all the video games so I could beat up on Fred T. them.
You know, it's funny you mentioned Fred, who obviously you were very close to and a teammate of in high school. I don't know what is bothering me more, that you're not in the College Football Hall of Fame or that Fred is not in the NFL Hall of Fame. We got to get those two things done.
I know. And, I swear it was, what's the day? Monday. It was Saturday night. I sent him a text because him and I was supposed to be going. He's getting up to the Senior Bowl
Right.
Hall of Fame this week.
Right, yeah.
And I was supposed to go up there with him, but our plans didn't match up. But congratulations, Fred. You know, Hall of Fame, Senior Bowl. You know, that's a great job. And I went through it between him and I, our life, because, you know, we've been friends since, 8 years old. And actually have played on the same team until I left and got drafted. I mean, so we spent a lot of time together. And Little League, you know, little Pop Warner, I was more recognized because Fred played tight end, actually. And I played receiver. Middle school, it's kind of a wash. But our 8th grade year, I won Athlete of the Year, and I won 3 out of the 4 VIPs of the sports. But the one I didn't win, he won. So then we get to high school. Fred, he takes off, and, you know, he dominated. And then, you know, the Florida, the package deal, which was, it could have been the bargain of the century, huh, Pat? The package deal. Right. They claim about me and Fred, like, boy, hey, that was some great shopping by whoever did it. Yeah, that's funny. So, you know, like you say, and that just leads right into what you just said with the college and the, you know, the NFL.
Let me ask you this, because I know there's a lot going on with what you're doing in terms of training guys. And one of the guys you trained, all he did was become a first-round draft pick and win the Heisman this year. But you trained him to beat Florida, Devontae Smith.
Yeah. I had the luck of training Devontae Smith leading into his workout at, you know, University of Alabama. They didn't go to the combine, so it kind of altered things. But yeah, I had an opportunity to work with him, still do, stay in contact. What a great young man. Reminds me a lot of myself, especially with his mouthpiece off air. He don't talk on air, but away from the camera, boy, he has a lot to say. And he reminds me of himself. But then I also was fortunate enough to train his teammate, who I spoke to yesterday, with him after Father's Day, Henry Ruggs.
Oh, yeah. Great player.
Yeah, so I told him in the text, I can't repeat the exact words I put in the group text, but it was on the line. I told you little dudes, I would blah, 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 y'all up if y'all blah, blah, blah. You know, I know this a G-rated show, so we'll go blah, blah, blah. So, but he told me to end the conversation that, well, I got drafted higher than you. I say, all right, you're right. Next thing. So that's his comebacker every time, Ruggs, is he got drafted higher than me. So the little college football thing don't matter.
Well, hey, we appreciate your time, and I've got to get one of those hats. So what is the name of that company again?
At Dome Hats. I'll send it to you. I'm quite sure they're watching this, and I'll send your information. Some he'll send you a few. Should make one for you. Yeah. I mean, it ain't like you just somebody. I mean, somebody say Pat Dooley around, they were like, where is he? So
they can say Pat, Robbie, Bianchi.
Yeah.
That'd be
Perfect.
great. Reidel, it's always great talking to you, man. And we'll catch you maybe during football season, okay?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right,
Anytime,
my
Pat.
man. Thanks again for joining us.
All right, thanks for having me.
One of the greatest to ever play at Florida and in the SEC and in the country, Reidel Anthony. We've got to take a break. We'll come back. Rece Davis will join us. Right after we do take this break, you're listening to or watching Another Dooley Noted Podcast.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where, everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this, streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it. This is Pat Dooley, and I want to tell you about my friends at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. I'm a member, and you should be too. It's the oldest Gator booster club in the world and a great place to meet new friends, network with prominent business people, and hear a great collection of speakers, including Dan Mullen, throughout the football season. Go ahead and give John Stevens a call at 352-222-8516 or sign up on the website, quarterbackclub.org. Thanks so much to our title sponsors, ABC Fine Wine and Spirits and Titan MRI, and to our pick sponsor, Leonardo's of Millhopper. You can find us live on Facebook and YouTube or listen at your leisure on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you find all your favorite podcasts. I'm excited to continue this podcast and to have your company on board as a sponsor. If you're interested in being part of the show, email me at patrickdooley54@gmail.com or give me a call, 352-317-3444. All right, welcome back to Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And boy, I tell you what, it's hard to follow Reidel Anthony, especially when he was wearing that Quez Ike Reidel hat. I love that hat. It has some stories to tell, but if you're going to follow him, you've got to follow him with one of the best in the business, and that is Rece Davis. You know him well from ESPN and, of course, College Game Day. And Rece, how are you today?
I'm doing well, but I don't know Quez, Ike, and Reidel. Jesse Palmer tells me that he made them everything they were, right?
They were the good despite Jesse. So.
He says the other thing. He says the other. He says they were good because of him.
Yeah, well, that's not true. Anyway, let me put it to you this way. Jesse's first start comes against Auburn. He's a freshman. He's only played 7-on-7 football in Canada, right? Mm-hmm. They still took him, brought him in there. He brings in the game. In that game, the same player runs, throws, and catches a TD. His name was not Jesse Palmer. It was Jacquez Green.
I saw Jacquez Green. Wait, I want to make sure I have my memory served right. He's from Fort Valley, Georgia, isn't he?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I saw him play when I was still working local television. He was a young player at Peach County High, I believe, if memory serves, and he was a dynamic player back then. It shows you how randomly things come to mind. You can ask him the next time you talk to him, but I believe his quarterback in high school was a guy named LeJuan Penniman, And I don't know what happened to him, but I just thought that was a name that I would remember. I remember they had great battles against Kendrick High School in Columbus, Georgia, where I was working. So I saw Jaquez play in high school. So obviously he was dynamic from the very start.
Yeah, he was great. And think about that 95 Nebraska game when he basically dislocates his hip on a kickoff and comes back and has tremendous 96 and 97 seasons, runs back a bunch of punts against Kentucky. He was a great athlete. Now he's a coach, a head coach.
I know. I'm not terribly active on Twitter, and I don't remember what caused me to start following him a while back, but I actually follow him on Twitter and see that he's coaching and involved, and he's really, really honest. And, I think he's got the best interest of the athletes at heart, which is, I think sometimes this is going to sound like a wide sweeping generalization, but that's refreshing to see, because sometimes the pressure of coaching can make guys really concerned about their own careers and how it's going to affect them, which is important and fine. But finding the balance and making sure, that you're looking out for the best interest of the players along with that is something, and at least my impression of him just on social media is that he does a really good job of that. Yep,
absolutely. We have been digesting this playoff system and all that for so long, and then today we get another blockbuster with the Supreme Court voting 9-0 that the NCAA basically has been violating every antitrust law that it could have been. I trying to get my hands around what exactly this is going to mean, and I'm not sure I grasp it. That's why I turn to smarter people to find out.
Well, I wouldn't say that you're a very smart guy. You know that, and I appreciate your self-deprecation, but it is going to change fundamentally the way the business is run. I think we've been on that track for a while, and I don't think it is going to fundamentally erode the popularity of the sport, as some have maintained. It's not going to, be the end of college sports as we know it. I actually think, Pat, it's the right thing to do. I do have some hesitancy, and in fact don't support the colleges, the institutions themselves, saying I'll give Jaquez Green $150,000 a year to come play football here, beyond the scholarship, which, I know some of the coaches would argue that they put, close to that into each athlete, at least at the SEC level. But what I do support and think is just fundamentally and philosophically right is that in our era, where guys might be at the zenith of their popularity in college, or maybe they just have a need to go be able to sign autographs or work a camp or do TikTok videos or whatever it is, that cannot, should not, and I think ultimately will not be limited by the NCAA. And I think it sort of goes hand in hand in some ways with the playoff talk, because that playoff change is such a drastic change and is going to fundamentally change the regular season of the sport. And for a sport that has moved at a glacial pace when determining champions throughout the course of history, now to suddenly decide that the best course of action is to triple the playoff field feels to me like a group of people who said we need to get ahead of something. And so I feel like that they're getting ahead of the next revenue stream. And I think they also are probably acutely aware that in some way they're going to have to share that revenue with the players. I don't know what that model will look like. Again, I'll need to turn to someone much smarter than I. But this is kind of just from some conversations and some intuition and speculation and sort of reading the way things have gone over the last few years. I think that's a significant part of it.
Yeah, that's the other thing is we don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know what anything's going to look like right now. We're only a few days away from this state and many other states enacting the NIL laws. And now Emmert comes out and says, we better solve this problem right now, or I'm going to do something. And I'm like, you had 12 years to deal from O'Banion. You've had plenty of time.
Right.
And it's just kind of, it's like part of me just wants everything to go away. I just want to watch football, you know, but there is part of me that certainly feels these athletes deserve something, and to somehow figure out how to monetize it correctly without it just becoming another pro sport.
Well, I mean, I understand that sentiment, but I think the answer, Pat, is pretty simple, at least to me. Maybe not the implementation, but the philosophical answer is simple. We have said for years, and it's not really true, but we've said for years that players are to be treated like any other student. So then let's do that. There's no other student on campus who's limited economically in that fashion. So let's just do that. And if you do that, then the market will dictate it. And I know what fans get afraid of, that the powerhouse schools, of which Florida would be one, would, you know, just have their boosters line up deals. I think they all should be legitimate business deals. I hear people throw up their hands and say, but they'll have to pay taxes. Well, of course they will. Why wouldn't they? You and I pay taxes. Everybody does, you know? And so, but it becomes a much more honest enterprise. And I think you just lift the restrictions, let the market take care of it. And it won't take very many times for the local car dealer in Gainesville to, you know, drop a guarantee of cars and a couple 100,000. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to get to this, but I'm just theoretically, how many times would you do that on someone you were uncertain about, have them not pan out before you say, you know what? I mean, they have businesses to run, right? They don't just have this discretionary income that they, you know, want to throw at 18-year-old football players. Let's see how it goes. Might cost me a little bit more if they become Tim Tebow. You know, might not cost me as much if they, you know, don't pan out. So, or if, you know, things don't go well for them. It also could have an impact, I would think, on in some ways, a business deal could make a player more patient. Everybody's worried about the transfer portal. I think, you know, you could have some function of that. I don't think it would totally mean that guys are just going to stay put where they go the first time, nor should they. They ought to have the right to choose where they go to school and where they play. But if you have that type of arrangement, then there are going to be some contractual obligations to go along with that. So there are a lot of layers to it. I think philosophically it's simple, treat them like the other students. But the implementation certainly has many layers and will be complex.
You know, another layer that I've thought about, and I don't know if it's going to end up being true or not, is a locker room after a game, and receiver X, who's got a deal, has got no balls thrown to him because they double covered him, and receiver Y catches 8 passes, and now he can work a deal. But X is like, hey, I needed to get the ball. I mean, there are all these things that I wonder about. I don't know that they're going to happen, but I worry that they could happen.
Well, I would argue that they already happen. It may not be attached. It may not be attached to money, but a guy who wants the Biletnikoff Trophy or wants to be a top 5 pick in the draft, and he doesn't get any balls thrown his way, there is the chance for him to be unhappy about that. And you know, and also I think sometimes it's become cliched, and I'm you know, not much on any of us being deities, broadcasters, journalists, coaches, or anyone else. But you know, this idea that we are teaching young men life lessons. Well, what better lesson is there than sometimes you don't get everything you want when you want it, you know? And so I hear that, and I understand, and I'm sure because we're all fallible human beings, there will be instances where this creates some division in the locker room. But there's already division in the locker room over playing time, or you know, and over, you know, a coach has put a guy in a doghouse and won't let him out, or, you know, coach ignores, you know, some other guy who goes off and does what he wants. That those things happen. And to suggest they don't is preposterous, because they do. And so there are already tensions that the coaching staff and the leaders among the players on the team have to manage. and this would be a significant one. There will be issues that arise from it, but I don't think that those issues, in my judgment anyway, are enough to say that we shouldn't do this.
Well, yeah, I agree with you on that. I got to think, even though you're looking forward to a summer, and having some time off, that the thought of being on that first, even though I don't think it'll be a first campus, I would assume it'll be a neutral site, but still college game day returning, us kind of getting back to normalcy, a packed stadium. I would think a little tear might come to your eye when you hear both teams come out, whether it's at Alabama, Miami, or Clemson, Georgia.
I'm really looking forward to that, Pat. In the stadium, a full stadium, there's nothing quite like it. The passion and energy of a college football game, and the neutral site games, which one of which we'll most likely be at. I know which one. I'm just not sure I'm supposed to announce it yet. But that will be great. But what I'm really, really looking forward to is being on campus for the first time, wherever that may be. And because that's just so much a part of the DNA and the fabric of the sport, and to have that removed for a calendar year. And I know the SEC allowed some fans, but it just wasn't. I stayed for a game or two this year. Most of the time I went ahead and went home, due to COVID protocols. Late in the season, I stayed for a couple. It was great that some fans got to be there. It was just not the same. And so I'm really looking forward to that energy on campus, the energy around our set, and then certainly the moment you're talking about when, packed house, full stadium. We were there in Gainesville a few years ago for Auburn, Florida. Just the electricity that you feel for a game like that. I'm really, really looking forward to that.
Well, we're inviting you to come down to Alabama, Florida this year, third week of the year, and I'll take you out to dinner, and we'll have a good time. How's that?
I'm all in for that one. That one is probably going to be quite significant. We have a lot of really significant early games this season. Georgia, Clemson that you mentioned for sure, potentially Alabama, Miami, but certainly Alabama, Florida figures to be really, really important and fun because it'll be on campus in a raucous atmosphere, I'm sure.
The last thing for you, I'm sure you're excited about just talking about football games. Because all we've talked about all talking season, NIL, playoffs, all this other stuff. Who's going to win between X and Y?
Yeah. The things that you and I have talked about today, and we didn't really get into the playoff. I would love to talk with you about that at some point too. But, those things are important. And I think it's important on our show to take a lead in terms of not trying to tell people how to think, but to present the issues and let them make their own judgments about that, and to be at the forefront of that dialogue and to know what's going on. But none of us got into this and are blessed enough to be in this business because we love talking about name, image, and likeness or playoff structure. We like talking about ball. And so to be able to do that once the season starts, and we'll still do those other things because we're obligated to, and because it's important, and because, and I don't dislike doing it, but that's not why I got into it. So I'm looking forward to being able to talk about, how's Emory Jones looking? Is Bryce Young good enough to beat Florida? DJ Uiagalelei, is Clemson going to miss a beat, without Trevor? All of those things. I'm looking forward to talking about that kind of thing.
I'm curious when we go to SEC Media Days or ACC Media Days, what is the percentage of questions about the playoff, name, image, and likeness, and football? I mean, it's probably going to be like 35, 28, 17, something like that. It's going to be crazy.
It probably so, and it's going to make for some grumpy coaches at the microphone. They're going to get tired of answering that, but they'll need to be prepared for it. I mean, because they're the faces of the sport. They're the leaders, and it's sort of like the transfer portal thing, Pat. I don't want to hear from any coaches about the difficulties of roster management. I don't come at me with that stuff. Not not when the coaches are in the position that they're in. Manage the roster. If you think it's wrong to send guys on their way somewhere else, and you don't want to recruit over them, then don't. But if that's the way you do business, and that's okay. Again, life lessons, and you can find that person a suitable landing spot, or open the door for him to find it himself, then that's okay too. But that's part of the job, is managing the roster. You don't recruit the extra guys, or help them, or help someone find a way out. That's how I look at it anyway. It's part of the job.
Rece, we could talk all day about college football. We love it. And next time I talk to you, we'll make sure we talk only about the actual games that are being played. So hopefully it'll be because you're coming down here, whether it's the Alabama game or another game. But it's always a pleasure and a real joy to talk to you. And thanks so much for joining us here on Another Dooley Noted Podcast.
Always a pleasure to be around the great people in the state of Florida, my friend.
All right, Rece, thanks so much. We got to get a break. We'll do that. When we come back, obviously, we have still got to get to Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks, this, that, and the other coming up, and the Adams Rib Co., the Mount Rushmore, which we've been starting to do. And today, it's softball, one of my favorite sports. I feel about softball. And we'll do that and more when we return. You're watching or listening to Another Dooley Noted Podcast. Thank you.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Thanks so much to our title sponsors, ABC Fine Wine and Spirits and Titan MRI, and to our pick sponsor, Leonardo's of Millhopper. You can find us live on Facebook and YouTube, or listen at your leisure on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you find all your favorite podcasts. I'm excited to continue this podcast and to have your company on board as a sponsor. If you're interested in being part of the show, email me at patrickdooley54@gmail.com or give me a call, 352-317-3444. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Rib Co. to go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. to go. Come on down and enjoy it. Okay, all right. I knew today would be a good show, and it's turned out to be tremendous. With the two guys we had, Reidel Anthony and Rece Davis. I think on Friday, I think Zach Albaverdi is going to join us. We're going to talk recruiting. Florida having a really good recruiting cycle so far, and I want to get into some detail with him. And I'm working on this. I think it's going to happen. I don't want to say too much, but Billy Donovan, I'm pretty sure, is going to join us in the next couple of weeks, and that'll be fun. That may be an entire hour. Okay, I'll just warn you, because with Billy, it can be great. You can watch us live on Facebook or YouTube, or listen to us on any of the podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of those podcasts. 39 platforms where you can find us. And again, like we mentioned earlier, we're closing in on a couple more sponsors, and we're hoping to get them resolved. But if you want to get in touch with me, it's very easy. You know how to do it. And I've got some really good deals, because we want to give you the good deals now, because when we get to football season, you're all going to come clamoring, wanting to be on Another Dooley Noted Podcast, because that's when it gets crazy around here. There's no question about it. All right, let us do the Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. Nobody qualified. from the last one because nobody guessed 8 under, and 8 under was our people guessed 8 under, but nobody guessed 6 under, which is what John Rahm shot, and really interesting round. But anyway, interesting tournament. I loved it. I loved having that and the baseball and the basketball. It felt like that may be as close to normal as I felt. And I played golf too that day, Sunday. Actually, I played Saturday too. Just 9 holes. I can get 9 holes in an hour. Went out and played at Ironwood, and it was really fun. So I was pretty happy. All right. The quick picks is going to be very simple again. You got to get it in. Let's just say get it in by Wednesday. We won't know for sure by Wednesday how many SEC teams make the final of the College World Series, because obviously there are 2 teams in the final. So your answer is either 0, 1, or 2. And we've got a lot of people who have qualified. We may pick one Friday. I'm leaning that way to picking somebody out of the hat on Friday and having a winner. Again, we've given away all kinds of stuff, all kinds of prizes, all kinds of gift certificates. We'll keep doing that. And thanks to Leonardo's and Millhopper for doing that. Kyle, we love him. He does a great job there. All right, the Adams Ribco Mount Rushmore, which we're doing this summer because there are no athletes of the week. Although, again, we could have done athletes of the week because of all these Gators who did so great in the Olympic trials in swimming. But I already decided to do this, and we're going to do it. So we're going to do softball today. And to me, there's 3 no-brainers. That's Tim Walton, obviously, for the job he's done. Stacey Nelson, who he considers to be the best player ever at Florida. And then Lauren Hager, who I consider to be the best player ever at Florida. But if you saw when I picked the top players, I picked Stacey Nelson number 1 because you go with what the coach thought. She was dominant. To me, those are the 3. And then you get to the 4th. Who else is up on that Mount Rushmore? Obviously, Kelly Barnhill, Amanda Lorenz, Kelsey Stewart, Michelle Moultrie, all these. And I could go on and on and on and on and on. But I'm going with Amanda Lorenz. I mean, the numbers she put up, she was amazing. And not only that, she was so much fun to talk to. So I give you a little advantage if you're great with the media. Not everybody's great with the media. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying. So our Mount Rushmore, Adams Rib Company, Mount Rushmore, Adams Rib Company to go, Mount Rushmore. For softball, we have declared it Tim Walton, Stacey Nelson, Lauren Hager, Amanda Lorenz. We've been having fun with this, and I hope you have too. I think on Friday we will do golf, men's golf. How about that? That's going to be a hard one. That will be very difficult. All right, finally on today's show, and again, we already did the 3 things presented by Hand Law. We appreciate them. This, that, and the other, which we have moved to Friday, as many of you know. The This, and again, This, that, and the other, sponsored by Ironwood Golf Course, also by Ballyhoo Grill, who we love the people over there, Bill Reichert over at Ballyhoo, Darshakow Insurance, so appreciative of them as well. They are the sponsors of This, That, and the Other, and we've got another couple sponsorships lined up for some other things that are going to be a lot of fun. We'll try to keep having fun here, but I think more than anything, if you're watching this show and you've listened to this show, you know we get the best guests. Nobody gets guests like we do, and that's what we're going to keep trying to do. All right, This, Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, the feud. That was a big story going into the U.S. Open. Put them together, play them together, like they were going to brawl on the course. Well, that is that they weren't paired, and but then DeChambeau, walking behind Koepka, did a kind of a funny thing, kind of took the edge off things a little bit. They still don't like each other. They just don't like each other. But then I saw, oh my gosh, they're tied for 3rd, I think at the time. Maybe they'll pair them in. Nope, they weren't. It's how you come in. Depends on when you finish your round. So they were not paired, and they, so it was still, but it still was this is going to be great. They come down to the stretch and they're dueling, and then there's the other, and that was DeChambeau shooting a 44 on the back nine. Look, those courses are really hard. I could have shot a 44 on their back nine. I'm not saying I would. I'm saying I could. So he shot 44, even though he was leading after 8 holes, and just kind of. I think all that stuff is unhealthy for him. It's not unhealthy for Brooks Koepka. Brooks Koepka, has kind of got that mean mentality. DeChambeau's kind of like this goofy, I got to do things, and I'm doing things weird, and nobody, look at this. And I think it got into his head a little bit, finally. And maybe I'm wrong, but I thought it did. Ends up shooting, 44 on the back when he had the lead after 8 holes. In fact, I remember sitting down going, all right, this is going to be good. DeChambeau, McIlroy. Ends up being Rahm, and Rahm deserves it. He's now the #1 player in the world. So that's this, that, and the other. And we appreciate everybody for watching, everybody for listening. We'll be back Friday with another great show, and I can't wait for it. I know you can't either. No radio this week if you're going to be listening to the tailgate, the radio, because of the College World Series, which is going on. And we're carrying that, so no radio this week. And so I got a little bit of free time. I might have to play some golf. I could, in theory, if it quits raining in Rainesville. All right, but we'll be back Friday with another great show. Zach Alberti will join us. Have another guest as well. Until then, I'm Pat Dooley. I am deep, I'm way back, and I am out of here.